They told me not to touch it. They told me not to breathe too close to it. They said the temple was cursed, forgotten, buried by the sands of 1,000 dead suns. But no one ever listens to scholars anymore. Not when you have a crowd of explorers, a camera crew, and 5 million subscribers waiting for blood or treasure or both. I stood before the statue with its hollow eyes and lips, parted in something between a scream and a smile. And I laughed. I laughed because it looked too fragile to hold a curse, too small to carry death, too still to be dangerous. The statue was shaped like a woman, her face elongated, her body covered in strange metal plates, fused into fossilized bone, her hands folded over her chest, as though guarding something deeper than her own heart. And I said, if you're going to doom us for a kiss, you better be worth it. And the crew cheered, and someone shouted, do it then, coward. So I leaned in and pressed my lips to stone, dry, cracked, ancient, older than war, older than memory, older than time. And for a moment, nothing happened, nothing at all, and we all laughed again. Except then she blinked. I was the first to see it, the first to feel the shift in the air, the first to register that something ancient had stirred and had not forgotten us. I tried to step back, but my feet were rooted like they had sunk into the dust of a world not my own. And her eyes opened fully, eyes without whites, eyes like molten planets swirling endlessly with red and silver and void. She looked at me, and I felt something inside me unravel, like a thread being pulled from my soul. And she said words that did not come from her mouth. They came from inside my head, each syllable echoing with weight, with age, with anger. She said, you dare awaken me with mockery? You dare disturb the silence of exile. And she moved, and the world did not make sense anymore, because the statue was not stone, she was not metal, she was flesh returned, and her mouth opened, and her voice was a vibration through the bones of the earth. And she said, one kiss, one act of pride, one moment of foolishness, and now your species will reap its reward. She stepped from the altar as though gravity meant nothing, as though she had waited so long that physics had forgotten how to bind her, and where she walked the ground turned black, the air shook like it was being screamed through. She looked at the people around me, and they could not speak. They could not move. The camera fell, the lens cracked, and still she kept walking, her arms lifting slowly as if waking, her fingers spread, and from her palms light poured. But it was not light, it was memory, her memory, our history, bleeding into the open minds of every human near her. The wars we started, the worlds we stripped, the greed, the fire, the silence we gave to suffering. And she did not shout, she simply shared, and we fell to our knees as though guilt was a gravity we had never known until now. She looked to the sky and said, return, and the stars blinked in patterns we could not read. And in distant space, machines turned to face us, machines with teeth. Back at the base, everything fell apart. Governments scrambled to make contact. Satellites blinked offline one by one. And the woman from the statue now walked among cities without touching the ground, and wherever she passed, silence followed, not peace, but silence, heavy, suffocating judgment made of air and pressure. She was not here to listen. She was not here to explain. She was here to witness and pronounce. And the machines came closer, shapes not built for beauty nor war, but for cleansing entire atmospheres. And the world began to remember what fear really felt like. Not fear of war or death, but fear of being noticed by something greater than ourselves, something that once looked upon our kind and chose to forget us. Until I kissed her, until I reminded her and her people that we are still here, still arrogant, still loud, still taking. And now the sky has changed. Now we are seen, and there is no hiding from their gaze. She stood on a tower of glass and steel, and the clouds tore open like a wound. Her voice reached every mind, every machine, every insect and child and prisoner and soldier. And she said, you had time, you were given time, You were given stars and songs and love. And still, you chose conquest and silence. And we will not unsee what you have become. I tried to speak to her. I tried to apologize, to scream, to beg. But she did not look at me like a man. She looked at me like a fossil, something long dead and still causing harm. She said, "You kissed me as a joke, and I now kiss your world in return." And she pressed her hands to the sky, and it cracked. The ozone peeled, the atmosphere wept, gravity shifted, birds fell silent, winds ran in circles, and space folded inward as if the universe itself was leaning closer to watch the reckoning. And I saw it in her face. Not anger, not hatred, but resolve. The kind of resolve born only from extinction. The machines came not with sound, not with flame, but with a silence deeper than space. They surrounded Earth without a single shot, and began to change the frequencies of light, the patterns of matter, the shape of life itself. We watched our oceans turn to clouds, our cities into patterns of data, not destroyed, just undone, rewritten by hands older than thought. And still she hovered, watching, always watching, as we vanished one by one, as our names were erased from memory itself. No fire, no screams, just forgetting. And I stood last, or perhaps only in the illusion of time. And she came to me, eyes soft now, and said, "You were the last kiss, the last spark. And in that spark, you wrote your ending." And I reached out my hand, and she took it. And I asked, "Why?" And she said, "Because we warned you." And you laughed. And with that she was gone, and the earth became a whisper in the dark, something the stars forget to mention, and something no lips will kiss again. Not ever, not again, not after this.